what's the underlining theme of this season, and how has this show changed from previous seasons?
When you're talking about war, and you're talking about two sides that each demonizes the other, the thing that's so, I think, so interesting and potentially important about this show is that it shows what happens when you can look at it literally from both sides equally and see that the other is literally you.
So how has it been flipping back and forth from one universe to the other? I know the differences are subtle, but for as an actor, how is that playing in two different places?
It's tricky. Because on the one hand, I approach it like playing two different characters. It's just that the character trait's very similar. I don't know if that makes sense. I mean, the most, in terms of just technically, the biggest difference between the two Broyleses was, you know, the way that they speak. The alternate Broyles and the way that they dress, which, you know, wasn't my choice, but that's always, you know, that always helped. Anybody who's trained in the theater knows that, you know, what you wear is very helpful, because it's part of the art of mask. So it helps you transform into someone else. And as silly as it sounds, the fact that the alternate Broyles chews gum. And the other thing is that his relationship, you know, one of the things that my bosses, the showrunners and head writers of the show, Jeff Pinkner and Joe Wyman, told me early on when we first started getting into the alternate universes was that even though the alternate universe is in much worse shape, I mean, it's basically like kind of on alert for crisis all the time, the characters are happier and their relationships are better. And so the other thing that was cool for me is, you know, you see alternate Broyles smile a fair amount, even with his people. You don't see that with the regular Broyles.
And so which character did you enjoy playing the most?
Well, once we started playing two different characters, I enjoyed playing alternate Broyles more. Only because I just thought it was fresh, it was new. And, you know, that's one of the things that actors love, which is why we love to go from project to project, because you get to play something different and something new. It's kind of like the little kid with a shiny new ball. And
so what is it about the show that appeals to a worldly audience? I mean, the show is doing really well.
I think that what is so compelling about Fringe is that even though it's dealing with kind of these stories that are on an epic scale and all these wild, mind-bending scientific things that we're not used to thinking of as in terms of real life, but it's about real people, in this case, extraordinary people, dealing with ultra-extraordinary circumstances and how they make choices and how they relate to each other and work together as a team. And I think that people are always going to relate to that because that's life.
Or has aired. If it's aired or hasn't aired, is there something in particular that really stands out for you that's going to really wow?
You know, I read almost at least every other episode, sometimes every episode. By the time I get to the end of the episode, something will happen that'll just blow my mind. And I'm like, no, they didn't. No. Who Peter ends up being in love with is whose universe is going to survive. And even though we think we know which one Peter's in love with, we don't.
What would you say, in terms of season 3, is the most important storyline for Fringe? Because there's a lot of conspiracy theories flying out here right now. The
battle between the universes and that conflict is ultimately where we're going with the series. Who knows, we could get through that and then there'd be another season or two, I don't know. In this season, Olivia's story is really kind of the most, what's the word I want to say? I don't want to say compelling or important, but it's the one that when I read the scripts kind of keeps me on the edge of my seat. I mean, what's happening, and I can't talk about it because we haven't even shot some of this stuff yet. Yeah. But what's going to be going on with Olivia in both universes is pretty mind-blowing by the end of this season. The biggest message of the show in the first season was really kind of what happens when you got, at least for me, watching it, and I think everybody gets something different, but it was what happens when you got multinational corporations that become so powerful that they're more powerful than a lot of governments. Everyday people, you know, navigate in a world like that. And then as we got into the conflict between the two universes, I really feel that, you know, it's an incredible metaphor when you're actually able to look at two sides of opposing wars, and each one thinks that it's the other people that are the evil ones, and it's literally us. I mean, us is literally them, and I think it's a great metaphor. I think that's a really important message of the show. Every episode, but almost every episode now, when I get to the last page, I'm like, no, oh my gosh, no, we're not gonna do that. Yeah. Wow, what are we gonna do next?
So how do you prep these scenes? Because I mean, with all these storylines, how do you work together on set with the actors? What do you? Let's start with the prep first. What do you do prior to coming to set to get your character ready to go?
Sometimes I'll do stuff in the mirror. Sometimes I'll do stuff while I'm walking. Yeah. Generally, I'll put things on tape as soon as possible, and I'll just really try to visualize things, so that, you know, when I come on set, you know, I'm able to kind of adjust to what's happening. And the reason I use the mirror isn't so much to look at my face and make sure, as much as it is to, you know, to get used to, it may sound like an odd thing, but to get used to connecting with people, you know, connecting with someone else's eyes, you know. Actually, at this point, it takes 9 days to do each. 9 days. I mean, technically it's 8, yeah, but there's always a 9th day, and we overlap. So there's always two, on the 9th day, there's always 2 units running. So the 9th day is always the first day of the next episode. With Fringe, originally I went in for Charlie. But when I read the script, the only role I thought I was right for was Broyles.
You know, the show relies on the existence of a parallel universe. Do you believe in the existence of a parallel universe?
Wow. I won't say that I believe in the existence of a parallel universe, but I definitely believe in the possibility of parallel universes. On the one hand, the thought kind of scares me, but on the other hand, you know, and I think this is one of the things that the show explores is, you know, when you look at all the different directions that a life can take, from just changing one choice, and the fact that we're making those kind of choices on a constant basis, and when you think about how the more we learn about kind of what reality is, the more it seems like it's almost all just kind of light and space, that it's really not inconceivable to me that there are parallel universes. On the one hand, you know, when we first started the show, I had no inkling that we were even going to get into this whole parallel universe thing. And so I thought it was going to be much more about the, within our universe, the whole notion of conspiracy theory and the kind of multinational corporation and how they interact with governments.
Are you aware of what fans like? Do you connect with them through, I don't know, internet?
Well, I don't. I know that the show has a lot of fans. I don't read much of that. So the most contact I tend to have on a regular basis with fans, ironically, is my Facebook page. Yeah, that's about it. Yeah.
What about an alternate role in the future?
I don't think that you know, I wouldn't think that they would go to a third alternate universe, simply because the show is so complex as it is. But like I said, you never know.